Good evening, barflies, lounge lizards, and oak drive-in patrons, and welcome to a special video cast of the Wacky World Drive-In, something we have never done. It'll essentially be just like the normal pod, so you can still just listen to it if you want to, but you have the option of looking at our beautiful faces.
Yeah, hopefully that's a positive thing and not too much of a negative
Mhm.
thing. But this is cool, something different, moving forward with
Well,
technology.
I'm R. Sterling Gray, and with me is the man of mystery, someone who I just actually saw for the very first time a couple months ago, Mr. Dick Vincent.
Oh wow, thank you. It was purely unintentional. I promise you, I just never did the video thing, but I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be fun.
I'd never even seen pictures though. Like even your social media and stuff,
Oh
just
really?
a
Oh
man of mystery. Had no
yeah.
idea.
I wasn't trying to cultivate that. It was just the way things
Mhm.
worked out. But yeah, it's this is something that's going to be fun. I think I am been looking forward to this.
Me too. And
Yeah.
what we'll be discussing tonight is just some underrated sci-fi films that we want to talk about all across the decades. But first, I have an important question to ask. Something
Oh,
we used to do a lot in the early days of the pod, but kind of just forgot about it recently. A versus match. And this is one I've been putting a lot of thought into, and that's
okay.
Captain Kirk versus Han Solo. Who would win in a fight?
Oh man, I think I'm going with Han Solo.
Hmm. Interesting. Defend.
I think just because Han Solo seems more of a guy that can maybe act on the fly and react to situations as they arise. And I don't know, Kirk just seems, I mean, I like Kirk. I think he would be a badass in a fight, but I think he's just maybe more methodical and stuff. And I just got to give that because I think Han would just go in there and kick ass immediately.
See, I hate to disagree, but I got to go
But
the
this is what
complete
it's for. We're supposed to
yeah,
disagree.
complete opposite. I
Oh,
think
wow.
Kirk would wipe up the floor with Han Solo. Because, yeah, Han is crafty and a little sneaky, but Kirk is crafty and sneaky too. The
Okay.
Kobayashi Maru, for example,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Kirk will do
Okay.
what has to be done to get it done, and Kirk is highly trained. Whereas Han Solo, I mean, I guess he had a little bit of training in the academy, but he flunked out of the academy very quickly. So
That's
Kirk is
true.
sneaky
Right.
and highly trained.
Yeah. One thing too about having Han is Han going to be able to keep Chewbacca from not jumping in on his side?
Okay, that's a good point, and that could that
That
could
wouldn't
bring
be
up a
fair,
whole
but that
nother
wouldn't be fair. But I yeah.
that could bring the whole other Spock versus Chewbacca kind of
Oh, and
fight.
you bring Spock into it. Yeah, yeah. This is a whole rabbit hole. This could be a whole nother episode.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, now with Spock, if he was all horned up on the what is it, Pomfar thing, then
Yeah, yeah,
think he
yeah.
might have a chance against Chewbacca there.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
All right. So what's your first pick for today, tonight?
My first pick is a recent one. Well, rather recent, I guess. It's from 2007. It's called Sunshine,
Oh,
which
I don't
I
know
don't
that.
think a lot. Yeah, it was directed by Danny Boyle, who did 28 Days Later.
Okay.
I think this is maybe his first movie after 28 Days Later. It's a really interesting. Basically, the sun is burning itself out, and they launch this mission with this huge spaceship with a giant hydrogen bomb attached to it. And they're supposed to get close enough to the sun to launch this bomb into the sun
Okay.
to basically reignite it because the earth is freezing. Then it throws into the mix that there was a mission beforehand that disappeared and no one knows what happened to it. And it's a bit of one of those kind of science fiction, mind movies, which I really enjoy.
Hmm.
Not as big as a mind as Event Horizon, but something along those lines where it really starts you thinking. Another plus for me, it's got Michelle Yeoh in it,
Oh,
who I
okay.
would watch, and she's one of those actresses. Literally, it's the old saying, I would watch her read the phone book. I
I
think she's
we
amazing.
we've probably talked about her before. I bet on our
Yeah,
martial arts episode we probably mentioned
probably
her.
yeah, because I'm sure folks know her from like she's made a zillion movies, but she's most famous for her Hong Kong action stuff, and she still shows up and stuff like this. But this is a really good movie, and I think it's one of those ones that just for some reason it just never clicked with audiences, and it just came to the theaters and just kind of disappeared quickly. And
And it's a UK film, I take it.
UK, yeah, it also stars I think Killian Murphy, the guy from Peaky Blinders. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but he's in it, and
I'm
it's
talking about Scarecrow, right?
yeah, I think so, yeah.
I think he was Scarecrow in well, the guy from 28 Days Later, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he was Scarecrow in
Okay,
Batman.
okay. I haven't seen that
Batman.
movie.
No.
Yeah, but yeah, and it's just a really good movie. I
Okay.
just
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do love the kind of when you take sci-fi, but you add a mystery element to it, like you mentioned, Event Horizon and things of that nature. I really like that, and that's something I love so much about the original Twilight Zone series. And my favorite episodes of the Twilight Zone are the ones that just have a mystery that kind of keeps you guessing what's going to be happening until the end.
Yeah, and this does kind of tie into a Twilight Zone because there was the Twilight Zone episode where the Earth is moving too close to the sun, I believe, and it's burning up, and so yeah,
And then it turned out, well, I don't want to spoil it, but there was that
yeah,
twist about it
yes,
was,
yep,
yeah, mm-hmm.
yep, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's a great movie, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, yeah, another one of my favorites, not to get too off on Twilight Zone, was I think it's called Will the Real Martian Please Stand? Where there's those people and they're in the cafe and one of them is possibly a Martian
Yes,
and they're trying to
yeah,
figure out who the Martian is.
yep.
That's a great episode.
Not to do with the spoiler, but that's where the guy lifts up his hat and has the
Yeah, yeah,
surprise at the end. Yep,
yeah.
yep. Okay.
That wasn't too bad a spoiler. Okay, well, my first pick is let me check. Oh, for everyone actually watching and not just listening, I'm always talking about the handy dandy notes. Check it out. You can actually see the handy dandy
Oh,
notes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've got mine here too.
Okay, where are you?
Of course, Rob, you just destroyed the illusion we created that we're just pulling all this stuff out of our head.
I know. Well, we are
Yeah,
pulling most of it out of our hats, but
yeah,
like dates and such. But I
that's
actually
true.
didn't write down the date on this one. But this is
Oh,
cool because this was actually one I just saw this past year, and it was actually a gift from a viewer, and that's Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone.
oh yeah. I see that's on the double feature with Crawl, and that was part
Carl.
of the whole time period when all those movies were coming out.
Yeah, this is actually a really cool, fun little movie, and one I used to see come on TV all the time, but I never gave it a shot because honestly, I just had this irrational dislike of Molly Ringwald back then. I don't know, I guess because of like the John Hughes movies type stuff. I mean, I loved 80s movies and comedies at the time, but those just seemed very not me. And I don't know, I just turned my little nose up at it and never gave it a shot. But I'm glad he sent it because I finally watched it and quite enjoyed it.
Oh,
And it's
cool.
got a
I
great,
think I saw that years ago on cable, but yeah, might
yeah,
be
it's basically
something to
just
check.
kind of like an alien planet, and or exactly they kind of her and this dude they kind of get stuck having to travel together, and then there's Ernie Hudson's in it, and he's really good, and just a
Oh,
fun, light little sci-fi film.
cool, cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure I saw it on cable years ago, but yeah, I have to check that out again.
Yeah, speaking of Molly Ringwald, and it's interesting that I never went back and gave it another shot much sooner because that all changed after The Stand, which I thought she was great in. That actually turned my opinion around on her completely.
Oh, okay, good, good. Yeah,
Yeah, that's one of those. I miss those days of those made for TV Stephen King miniseries. Still think those are great.
there were some really good ones. I think the Salem's Lot is still one of the best horror TV miniseries that's ever put on. That's still packs a jolt.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the last episode, even.
Yes, we did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
the window scene. Still, gotta
Yep,
always
yep.
mention that window scene.
One of the great childhood, nightmare scenes in the world.
Yeah, because I've heard people say that, oh, The Stand, it doesn't hold up. I disagree. I think I mean, yeah, the CG at the end's a little questionable. It was a little questionable at the time. But I mean, the movie itself is really good and the performances are fantastic. I mean, we're talking Gary Sinise. I mean, so this was high quality people in this, or high caliber people in this movie.
Yeah, always thought they did a really good job of taking the book and getting it down to something where you could follow the story and it would still keep all the major elements of the story in there.
So, what's your next one?
My next one is Contamination from
Uh,
1981.
okay.
And it's got the magical words attached to it, Italian alien ripoff. This was directed by Luigi Cozzi, who also did the great Star Crash.
Oh yeah, of
And I
course.
don't
Let
know,
me.
have you seen this one, Rob?
I don't think I have. Let me see that cover a little
Oh,
better. Hold it up some. Oh, it's a great cover. I don't think I've seen that one. No, I think
okay.
I've seen like Contaminate. Isn't there a Contamination 7 or like one with a number attached to the
Yes,
end?
there is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I own that one, but I
Okay.
haven't seen.
Yeah, this is a really cool little, not little, but it's a really cool 80s Italian movie. It's about, it's got a lot of alien vibes to it, which a lot of Italian science fiction movies do have.
Mhm.
Basically, these guys, the space capsule comes back to Earth with two of the three astronauts dead, and it turns out it was carrying this mysterious cargo. When there's the whole alien plan to repopulate the Earth, and there's these big alien eggs that are around that explode and all sorts of gooey stuff that dissolves people's skin, and just and plus it's got a score by Goblin.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow.
Really good Goblin score. It's one of my favorite scores by them. But it's just a great um fun, Italian 80s science fiction movie.
Oh, I am a huge fan of the so-called alien knockoff films. That whole genre. I mean, I love pretty much every one I've seen. I mean, those are, I'm a big fan of that genre. And I always love how the effects in those, I guess the influence of Alien, is always so slimy. Like everything's all slimy and drippy. And I just love that. That's so.
That's what I was going to bring up next. This is a really gooey one.
Oh, see, oh,
Lots of stuff flying around, and it's got a great reveal at the end of the head alien, which is this great kind of puppet thing. And it's a really cool movie.
sold.
Yeah,
You had
plus
you had me
Goblin.
you had me at gooey, but
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, like there's some of those great ones. Galaxy of Terror is another one
Yes.
I enjoy quite a lot.
Yeah, that one. And there was also the other one, Forbidden World, that was
Yeah.
done. Yeah, that kind of is the same, the Roger Corman thing. But yeah,
Great
those.
cover on that one too. That's a
Yes.
very yeah.
Yeah, one thing Roger Corman did, he always had great posters.
That's true.
But, yeah, but both those movies are those are really just interesting and again fun stuff.
Yeah, what was the one? Is it Saturn 3?
Oh, with Kirk Douglas and
Yeah, Evil Robot's kind of a different take on it.
yep, yep.
Okay, so my next one I know you've seen, and that's Creepazoids from '87, directed by Dave Dakota. And anyone who watches this channel knows I always talk about the Holy Trinity, the Holy Trio of Dave Dakota, Jim Wynorski, and Fred Olen Ray.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good one, and that's one of those ones that I think if you ever haunted video stores, that you always saw that one. The cut.
That's where I first saw it. I
Yep.
actually rented it from a movie gallery, and I guess in '87, took it home, watched it right away. And it's funny, as a kid, I remember it being so sleazy, like almost uncomfortably sleazy. But then when I watched it again as an adult, I mean, there's a couple of fun little scenes, but it's not the sleaze fest I remember it being, and feeling kind of awkward watching.
I didn't know it was out on the DVD. How does that DVD look? Because I know sometimes full moon stuff can be kind of
Um,
iffy, like VHS sourced.
it's been a couple of years since I watched it, but
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
remember it any issues.
okay.
But it could be one of those cases that I was just so happy to have it on DVD that I looked past the
Yeah.
quality.
Sometimes you got to do that a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. You know, it's a different world we live in right now with your Vinegar syndromes, and now Severin has started stepping up their game again. I was really happy to hear that. But you're getting these nice quality versions of these older films that you never thought you'd get a nice quality version of. Like I remember when I was really hardcore heavy first hit the exploitation film collecting. Some of my films I bought, I mean, actual DVD releases, like some of the Emmanuels, for example. I mean, barely watchable. I mean, we're talking, like you said, VHS ripped, probably a third generation VHS rip onto DVD.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the first ones that popped into mind was the Emmanuel movies, because I remember going up to like the Chiller Theater conventions, and you'd pay $20 for a VHS that, like you said, was like two or three generations removed. They sometimes had these really weird burned in subtitles that were like Greek or Dutch or something like that.
Greek. Greek seemed to
Greek,
be the very common one for some reason. The
for some
Greek
reason.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember buying stuff, yeah, like, Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals and Around the World with Emmanuel. And it was like, but it was like, if you wanted to see it, that's what you put up with. And
That's what you did, and
yeah,
we did it gladly too. There was no like, I mean, we were happy with it. At least I was.
yeah. And the big rumor around now is that Severin is going to do a big Laura Gimser Black Emmanuel box.
Oh, like a Blu-ray box.
Blu-ray box, yeah, at some point, because they did the
Oh,
DVDs eons ago, but supposedly there's going to be a nice big Laura Gimser box coming.
I have both the DVD sets, and they're both really nice, great quality. Come with soundtracks. I love those. Are some of my favorite purchases ever.
Yeah, they were great. I know when they lost the rights to them, you could, for a while, you could buy those box sets from Severin for like $10 a piece.
Oh man, I got them brand new. I think I pre-ordered the second one even.
I did too, man. But I almost just ordered a bunch of them just to have them, just to hand out to people. It's like, here, you need to
Yeah,
watch these movies.
the gift of Laura. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Like I remember my copy, my DVD copy. I think it's I have two actually that are really bad. Manuel in the Country and Taboo Island, or Emmanuel and Taboo Island. Both are very rough quality.
I think that's probably still got those in some form or another, like you floating around somewhere.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
I guess I'm up.
Yes, sir.
All right. My next one is from Toho. It's the H-Man.
Okay.
Yeah, from 1958. And I think this is one that gets forgotten a lot just because, it's not a Godzilla film. It's not kaiju of any kind. And it's just really, again, it's got the gooey factor again a little bit, where it's like, it's because of some of atomic bomb experiments that some people were involved in. They're able to like dissolve their body and reform their body. And again, if they touch someone, the person dissolves. And it's kind of one of those Toho things that has the sci-fi and the police thriller elements mixed in, because criminals find it and start using it. But I think it's a cool little movie.
I don't
It's
know that
something
one at
different,
all. Yeah.
different from Toho. And like I said, it does have the goo factor too.
Oh, I love the Goo Factor. Yeah, I don't think I
Not,
know
not
that one.
it's not like ultra 80s goo, but it's still gooey.
We're happy to have you with us this evening and want you to enjoy every minute of your stay here. And while you relax and stretch, visit our concession where you'll find something to please you. There are ice-cold drinks, delicious sandwiches, ice cream, coffee and snacks, and many other pleasing treats. Our foods are fresh and tasty, our drinks satisfying and refreshing. They're so good.
That makes me think of, you ever seen the Oily Maniac or Oily Maniac?
I have that. I found I think 88 Films did a Blu-ray of it, and I found it really cheap at a show, and it's still sitting on my shelves unopened.
No,
Yeah, but
it's
I've heard good things about that.
it's interesting. It's one that's weirdly often compared to Inframan, which I think that is only because of the star. Because it's really nothing like Inframan. Because yeah, he's the Oily Maniac himself is, I guess, fighting bad people, but he's like murdering them, and it's like kind of almost horror movie at parts. It's an interesting one. It's good though. It's definitely worth watching, but it's not Inframan.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, it's on my watch pile, my ever-growing watch pile, so I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah, as you saw, and you even commented on, kind of speaking, sort of same world. You mentioned Toho. Yeah, I've been watching Ultra Q. All right, I
Oh,
started Ultra Q recently.
I love that show.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
It's got some of the weirdest monsters in it.
Yeah, I'm not very far, but so far they're so friendly looking. Like in that
Yeah.
first episode, he looked like a friendly Godzilla with horns.
Yep, yep, yep. But I just, it's kind of like, it's just a cool show because, it's got that group of people that go look at mysterious kind of happenings. And yeah, it's a neat little show.
Yeah, I'm only a few in, so there hasn't been any recurring characters yet. So does it eventually kind of take on, actually have a recurring cast
I
eventually?
believe so, yeah, from what I remember.
Okay. Yeah, I also start. I mean, off topic of that, but I actually started watching UFO, the Jerry Anderson series.
Oh, I've never seen that.
It is very, I guess, groovy is the only way I can put it. I mean, it is. I don't know. I'm not far enough in to really give an opinion of the series yet, but visually, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Anderson fan as far as I love, like, the Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and all that stuff. But for some reason, I've never seen UFO.
Yeah, I own that and Space 1999, but a friend was telling me start with UFO. It's a little better, so I just was like, okay, I started with
Yeah.
UFO.
Oh,
But
okay.
like they have this moon base, and all the women that work at the moon base, for some reason, I guess it's their uniform, wear these short purple wigs and like silver skimpy outfits. And all the people on the submarine, they have a submarine base too, and like all the dudes wear these mesh, like very like almost fetish club shirts. Oh, that's a lot of nipple for primetime TV.
Yeah, I know you see the pictures of the women with those wigs. They're popular on like Tumblr and Twitter and stuff. You see them pull up whenever people want to show something. Like you said, groovy. They use those. Yeah.
Speaking of Tumblr, folks, Mr. Vince and I both have Tumblrs. I barely post on mine, but you've started posting on yours again, haven't you?
I go through and periodically do it. I kind of lost a lot of interest in Tumblr when they did away with all
Censored it,
the,
yeah.
yeah, what they basically called adult content, which was basically anything with any bit of nudity in it. They just stripped away totally. So I still
But
go on there.
I keep hearing it's back though. People keep saying that you can post again. I'm not sure about that though.
Yeah, I know. I never went and fixed, because they gave you like a grace period where you could go remove all the content. And I never did that. So, like, they took away my header. I can't put my own header on. And
Okay.
yeah, but I still see stuff pop up on there that's in, obvious in violation of their code. So people are doing it, but I think it's just been, neutered beyond interest.
Yeah, it's a shame because your reason I even brought it up because your Tumblr was great. I always I mean, every post is like, winner after winner. I was always like stealing stuff and posting it on Twitter. I mean, I credited you most of the time.
Yeah, that's fine. It's all out there to be shared.
Yeah.
But the thing that made me mad is when they did it, they basically, I mean, if you had like a still from a movie that maybe showed a bare breast, it was like yanked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was no, they just made it G-rated.
Yeah. And speaking of, well, nothing having to do with anything, my next pick, and this is one that's a very underrated film in my opinion, and one of the few what I would consider a modern movie, even though, let me check the date on this. 2012. That to me,
Wow.
that's very modern. But this is one that I think a part of it boils down to it just has a terrible cover. If it had a good cover that represented the film better, it'd probably be more well known. But this is a modern day classic, in my opinion, and that's John Dies at the End.
Yeah, was that directed by the Phantasm?
Yeah, Don
guy?
Coscarelli.
Yeah, Don Coscarelli. Yeah. I've heard about that. Haven't seen it though.
Oh, wow, you really need to. It is just great, weird, trippy, but fun sci-fi.
Cool.
And like I said, I mean, this cover, I mean, it makes it look like, there's some bad glare on that. I mean, I don't know what it makes it look like, but if I just saw that in a store, I was like, I would not be interested in a movie with that cover.
I never even knew it was sci-fi, as I've
But
never looked it up and bothered to read about it or anything. But I just figured it was some kind of like, group of friends comedy or something.
that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
I guess the tentacles at the bottom. But like it's got Paul Giamatti, it's got Clancy Brown, and I am a big Clancy
Oh,
Brown fan. Anything that man does, even if it's not the best thing, he's excellent in it. He's one of those.
oh, cool. Yeah, that's one I haven't seen, but I'm definitely interested now.
Now this one, a lot of people, and that's where this one came from as well. My good buddy GCat Recap sent it to me. He's been finding it at Dollar Tree, the Blu-ray.
That's where I think I've seen it. There's a Dollar Tree just a few blocks down the street from me, which I'm going to make a visit to soon.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. If you can
Cool.
find it, I think you'll really like it. It's got that Coscarelli kind of charm. If you like his work, it's definitely in that vibe.
Yeah, I always see posts from people that, I found this at Dollar Tree. I found this at Big Lots, these huge piles of all these great DVDs. Maybe I live in the wrong area, but the Dollar Trees and the Big Lots around me pretty much suck.
Yeah. I never have any. I think the closest thing I found, Hellride. once, which blew me away because that's a
Oh,
great film as well. But I think that's the only thing I've found that I was like, oh, this is great.
yeah, but people are always posting, stacks of like, oh, I found these 20 DVDs, all this Hammer stuff and everything. And it's like, man, I
Wow.
guess you live in the good area because all I have is
Yeah.
like, 37 copies of some part 4 of some kid sequel or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Wow. It's rough. But
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, John dies at the end. It's very quirky. I mean, it's got that Coscarelli, especially if you watch the Phantasm films. They kind of got quirkier as they went, especially the
Yes,
last one. I
yeah.
mean, granted, Coscarelli didn't direct the last one, but so it kind of, yeah, really in that vibe.
No, cool. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna check it out.
And like, I love kind of, I don't know if I'd call it time travel stuff, but there's kind of a time element to it, a weirdly done time element. That's good stuff.
Cool. My next one is from 1980, I believe. Let me check my cheating notes here since we know we're doing it now. Yes, 1980. It came without warning. It's
Hmm.
been under a different titles. It was released to the theaters all through the 80s under like I think Alien Encounter, Without Warning. And basically it's kind of like almost a Predator like about this alien who comes to Earth, and his sole purpose on coming to Earth is to hunt people. And he's got these really cool little creatures that are like kind of like starfish with teeth on them that he throws, and they stick on
Okay.
people and suck their blood out. It's got a great cast. It's got Jack Palance. It's got Martin Landau,
Oh,
Ken
wow. Okay.
Mitchell. It's just a really great kind of horror slash sci-fi movie. And I forget the guy's name, but an interesting thing is the guy who plays the alien is the same stuntman who played the Predator in both the Predator movies. This came out on Blu-ray it was really strange. It never came out on VHS, never came out on DVD, never had any release of anything. I saw it on cable once back in the
Mhm.
90s, I think. But Scream Factory finally brought it out several years ago that I know Kino is going to reissue it at some point in the future too. So it was one of those ones that was kind of just lost for years.
And how was the effects? Like, how does the alien look?
They're good. The alien is kept mostly a lot of the movie takes place at night. So the
Mhm.
alien is kind of always maybe this form that's kind of out there. But he looks cool. But the little throwing like starfish sucker monsters are really well done. Again, we got the goo factor.
Do you think there was an influence there from It Conquered the World?
Yes, I
Because
do
did
think it's the same kind of, that through the air kind of little, living
sucky
weapon thing.
thing. Yeah,
Sucky thing. Yeah.
sucky
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. But it's really good. It's a good one.
Okay, I'll have to
Yeah.
keep an eye out for that one as well. And you said
Yeah.
1980?
1980. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that time. I mean, again, the post Alien, so many great Alien movies came out. There was one I used to watch a lot as a kid. Haven't seen it since I was a kid though, so I cannot speak for it now. But I remember it being really cool then with cool effects. Is Zytro or Zetro or forget which
Oh,
how you
Extra.
is it Extro? Is that how you say it?
The one about the alien who comes back to Earth as the kid's father.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And it has that really unbelievable scene of the woman giving birth, I think, to the full size.
I'll tell you how long it's been since I've seen it. Betamax.
Oh, wow. That is old. Yeah.
Yeah, one we used to run on Betamax because, as I mentioned on probably on the pod even before, the place we used to go was like one of the only places in town with a Betamax section. It had like one little Betamax section and then the giant VHS section beside it. And I would just look sadly at the VHS tapes over there. But yeah, I remember Zytro was one of the ones we were,
Oh,
or Z
yeah.
said it's Extro.
I think it's Extra. And there was like 3 or 4 sequels. It was English, an England movie. And it was, it was interesting, I remember.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see that one again, just to see, because sometimes you attach to things as a kid that you don't necessarily understand why.
Yeah, probably we're still worth a look, I'm sure.
Yeah, like just speaking of that Betamax section, like I guess because it's just such a formidable time, I still remember so many of the movies I rented on Betamax from that place.
Yeah, Betamax was always, I mean, well, I had a Betamax machine just because I picked one up somewhere. And Betamax, from what I understand, was always supposed to be, it was the better format.
Yeah, that's what
But
I understand.
VHS was cheaper.
Hmm.
And what happens with a lot of video technology, it comes down to, they say, what the porn industry picks.
Right, yeah.
And the porn industry went with the VHS because the tapes were cheaper. I also know, too, that I've heard that the whole thing with the magnetic the credit cards, like the encryption stuff over the internet, so you could use credit cards on the internet. That was all because of the porn industry wanted to develop that technology, so people could stay at home. You didn't have to go to the video store to rent your porn. You could pay it, watch it online.
Well, I mean, some of the first DVDs I ever remember like seeing physically in person were adult DVDs. I remember one of the first times watching one of those and like the interactive menu. I mean, it's so primitive looking now, but then it was like you can click things. It was like mind blowing. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, they're such a large, I mean, kind of industry, and spend so much money that they're kind of the ones that set, it's whatever they go with becomes a standard for home video, or any kind of technology associated with home video.
Well, here's one. Do you remember the first DVD you ever purchased?
Oh, I think it was Image started doing that Euroshock collection.
Hmm.
And I think the first one I bought was the Jess Franco did the female vampire.
Oh, wow. That's a
I
great first
think that
DVD.
was the first
Yeah.
one I bought. Them and Image started doing those Something Weird ones too.
Hmm.
And they were real early out of the gate with those big like triple features that were loaded with trailers and everything. I bought one of those too, because I was lucky that I was working at Borders during the whole VHS to DVD conversion thing.
Hmm.
So I was able to buy a lot at a good discount.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was stubborn. Like I was convinced DVD was going the way of the Laserdisc, so I wasn't going to waste my time with DVD. But when I eventually did, the first actual movie I bought, or I didn't buy, it was Christmas gift of the same year I got my PlayStation 2, which was my first DVD player, I think. Army of Darkness. The
Oh,
Army
cool.
of Darkness Special Edition, I think, was the or one of many special editions. There's so many versions of Army of Darkness floating around.
Yeah, all those Evil Dead movies, it's like have multiple versions. Yeah. Yeah, see, I was one of the guys, I bought it, I had Laserdiscs.
Right, yeah.
And they never, I don't think they ever got the price down, and they never, and plus they took up so much room to this. They were like, video stores like displaying the record albums. And just speaking as owner, they weighed a ton whenever you had to move them. Yeah.
But people that love Laserdisc still love their Laserdisc. Like I remember even when I was just a couple of years back when I was still in LA, Amoeba still had a Laserdisc section.
Yeah, I still have a little, maybe 15, 20 of them, mostly ones that I had signed, they're
Ah,
autographed, or ones that there's still a few that that never came out. There's a lot of music stuff that never came out, but they just, after a while, it just died away. Just a kind of an interesting side note, real quick. One thing that I learned recently that was kind of the death knell for Laserdisc was the Northridge earthquake
how
of
so?
1994. Image and Pioneer had they were 90% of the Laserdisc business, and their distribution warehouses were both up in that area around
Hmm.
Sherman Oaks, and their inventories were both literally wiped out. And
Wow.
they just never
Okay.
recovered from that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I never knew that, because there was that time in the mid 90s where you just couldn't find them anymore. And I just figured, okay, these things are dying out, which they would have anyways. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, with the earthquake just pretty much destroyed the inventory. They never recovered after that.
You haven't seen one in so long. Are they the same size as a record or are they
Same
bigger?
size, a lot heavier because they're thicker.
Hmm.
And, they had some issues. A lot of the machines, later they came out with fancy machines that would play both sides,
I
but you had to
remember,
do
yeah.
the flip thing. And I mean, but that was the first time I ever heard stuff like, commentaries and things like that. And it was, they were interesting.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard a commentary, interestingly, was back on IFC. Back in the, IFC, I've talked about before, is a very different channel now than it used to be. I mean, IFC actually used to be a very cool channel, but they would occasionally play movies with the commentary. And I was watching, and I was like, oh, this is such a strange concept, but I was fascinated by it.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so I still have a little pile of Laserdisc tucked away in my closet.
Have you ever thought about maybe some of the signed ones getting some of those record display things and like hanging them up on the wall? Or are
I
they just too
should.
heavy?
Yeah, because I know I've got a Halloween one signed by John Carpenter, and I've got a Beyond the Valley of the Dolls signed by Cynthia Meyer. So yeah, I should get them up.
Wow,
'Cause
that's a cool piece.
yeah, she used to show up at Chiller, and
Oh,
it was. This is, I don't know. Again, maybe just a little side story. She, at the time, the only thing you could get that way was on Laserdisc. It was not available on video for some reason. Fox just brought it out on Laserdisc, and she did not have a copy of it. And I brought up my Laserdisc sleeve to have her sign it, and she mentioned, "Oh, I don't have a Laserdisc player. I'd love to get a copy of this." And I said, "I can do that for you." I went home, made her a VHS copy, and sent it to her, and she sent me a huge envelope just full of pictures, and she was really nice. So I've got like 20 signed Cynthia Meyer pictures.
that's cool.
Yeah.
What year was that? What year was that?
Back in the Chiller days, probably early 90s,
Yeah, I mean,
92, 93, back when I used to go to Chiller Theater twice a year up in Jersey.
I'll tell you again, that's one of those things that just hits me right in the nostalgia bone, wherever the nostalgia bone is. It just like stories of cons and bootlegs and stories like that. Back when things before cons were so popular and like so trendy, before kind of the I guess the superhero boom of the superhero movies made going to cons something that normal people do. But back then, such good times.
Yeah, and the thing about cons back then, I mean, I don't know what Chiller Theater is like now. I haven't been in years, but you walk in Chiller Theater, it was like two huge dealer rooms, and it was all DVDs or VHS, bootleg VHS, and people selling posters and movie memorabilia and some toys, some models, but it was just this like giant wonderful world.
And it would expose you to things that you couldn't have access to normally. Like, for example, in my hometown, only Blockbuster got Dead Alive, and Blockbuster versions were always heavily cut. So I
Yeah.
remember the first time I actually saw Dead Alive uncut was a bootleg version from a con.
Yeah, that's the only way you could get that stuff. And yeah. But yeah, I do miss that kind of adventure of seeking out. Even in the early internet days, there wasn't all that information out there. You would see something at a con. Oh, this looks cool. I'll pick it up and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so next, whose turn is it actually? I've forgotten who
I
we're
think
on.
it's yours because I just did It Came Without Warning.
Okay, and this is one I won't have too much to say about it because I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but it's one of those movies that I would watch over and over again. And yeah, I mean, just anytime it was on, I would watch it. And that was Enemy Mine from '85 with
Oh, yeah. Lou Gossett and Quaid.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the film about the two human and an alien stranded on an alien planet, and they kind of ended up becoming friends. They had to become friends, even though they were enemies before. And Dennis Quaid, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Dennis Quaid, not Randy Quaid. That would have been a totally different movie.
Yeah,
I would have watched that though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dennis Quaid, and he ends up kind of adopting the ways of the alien. Yeah, just a neat, interesting movie.
Yeah, that's actually a remake of an older movie.
I didn't.
Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin called Hell in the Pacific, about a Japanese soldier and American soldier who are stranded together on the same island.
Okay, they just sci-fi'd it up.
Yeah, but I do. Yeah, Enemy Mine is good. Always thought Lou Gossett was so good at that movie because he projected that personality and stuff through, the costume and the makeup and stuff.
And talk about another underrated just actor in general. I mean, that man's got some talent, but you never hear about him.
No, plus he's got that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with that voice, they kind of just stuck him in the authoritarian roles. Like he kind of, for the most part, was just police chiefs or army generals or just that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because he did that whole series of the movies where the Air Force guy with the kids in the plane.
Yeah,
Iron Eagle.
Iron Eagle.
Iron Eagle. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
But
there was that. Oh, go ahead.
I just say, yeah, I was gonna, yeah, he is good.
Like he also had that one I used to really like as a kid, Toy Soldiers.
Oh, was that the kids at the military school?
Yeah, that gets
Yeah,
invaded by terrorists or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I forgot all about that movie. Wow. All right, my next one, I do not have a DVD or a Blu-ray for because it's not out on physical release of any kind.
Okay.
We may have talked about this in a previous episode. I kind of always pushing this movie on people. It's only available to watch on Amazon.
Okay.
It's called The Vast of Night, and it's a recent movie from 2019. I just love this movie. My brother turned me on to it. A real low budget, but done with a whole lot of heart. It takes place in the 1950s in the small town in New Mexico, and this late night DJ, and at the same time, this telephone operator, they overhear this strange white noise coming from, they pick up on their, respective on the radio and on the telephone, and they begin investigating it. And it turns out there's, the aliens and this military cover up. And it's just a really great movie. And the two leads in it are really good. Like I said, it takes place in the 1950s. And for a low budget movie, they did an excellent job with the costumes and everything. And a lot of it, you can tell it takes place in the dark at night. So there's a lot of suggestion and a lot of creepiness going on, but it's a great movie.
Is it still up? Because it sounds very up my alley.
Yeah, I checked like a couple weeks ago and it was still there. I think it was kind of like an Amazon exclusive, and that's why it's never come out on video. When I was reading about it before our podcast here, I did read that the director arranged to have it play at some drive-ins.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So I'd love to see it at a drive-in. But yeah, The Vast of Night. I think it came out 2019.
Oh wow! I might watch that tonight if I can.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really anxious to find out what you feel about it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, like I said, of the mystery element. And you said it sounds like
that's
it's kind
what
of
this is. Yeah. I think, a lot of it was probably budgetary reasons, but the way he works it, with a lot of it at night, a lot of really good sound design and stuff. And yeah, I give it, by, 2 thumbs up.
Okay, so my next one is, and something I don't think has ever been released on anything, and it's a TV series from 1988, and it was the War of the Worlds series, and it was actually a direct continuation to the 50s film.
Oh, really? I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it ran for 2 seasons. It started in 88, and yeah, a syndicated show, and I remember it would be on Saturday nights, I think around 10 or so. Came on before Tales from the Dark Side, if I remember correctly. And I would just, love to get home to watch that. Thought it was fantastic.
So it had the same characters as the original, as the George Pal movie, the original movie?
Like I said, I haven't seen it since then, but if I remember correctly, it was a direct sequel but to the George Pal movie, but that many years later.
Oh, it sounds interesting.
So not the same characters, but the same world.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Have you looked on YouTube? A lot of times old TV series show up on YouTube. It might be on there.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought to do that. I should, yeah, because I remember just liking it so much. There was a character called Colonel Ironhorse, and I just remember thinking he was the coolest. I don't remember why I thought that, but...
No, just by the name alone.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was surprised when I was reading up on it today for this episode that it lasted for 2 years. I don't remember it going that long.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard of that before, so that's something new I learned today.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh shoot, I've learned a lot of new today.
All right, my next one. Man, I seem to really be stuck in the early 80s on this one. I've got a couple older ones coming. This one is from 81 in Seminoid. Also
Finally,
came out
yeah.
as Horror Planet.
Mhm.
And this one is a really great guilty pleasure for me. I mean, it's high sleaze factor.
Mhm.
But it's Norman Warren and English guy who did a lot of interesting movies, stuff like Terror and Prey, and but this is a kind of his take on the whole alien horror genre, and it's got Judy Geeson in it, who is an actress I love. A lot of people, she was in Lords of Salem. She was one of the three witches
Right, yeah.
in
Mhm.
Lords of Salem, and she always kind of played. She did some Hammer stuff. She always kind of played the victim or the but here she's just full on bonkers crazy. She's like in these people go to an alien planet and they're researching this kind of lost underground civilization, and there's an alien living there that impregnates her, and it just goes full on lunacy after that.
One of the best things I'd say that's happened to me in like media wise in the last 5 or 6 years or so was discovering the Amazon Prime app on my PlayStation. Well, it started with PlayStation 3 and then 4 and now 5, but and so just being able to watch Amazon Prime on the TV totally changed things for me. But this is one of the first ones I watched on Amazon
Oh,
Prime, on TV. Very cool, yeah.
cool. Yeah, it's like I said, there's definite sleaze factor in it. But it's, when it's set, sometimes you can, look like if someone bumps into them, they're gonna fall down. But it's got like Stephanie Beacham's in it, Victoria Tennant's in it. It's got a really cool cast that I love Judy Geeson. It's great just to see her go, full on crazy.
All right. So then next on my list is another one I just saw recently, but wow, I was so impressed with this movie and I'm surprised no one talks about it, but it's one I saw on Svengoolie recently, and that is Creation of the Humanoids from 1962.
Oh, I've heard of this but haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's one that people talk badly on. I guess it has a reputation for not being a very good movie, but I was blown away by it. But I think that comes down to there is zero action in this movie. It is almost all dialogue, but I don't know, it works and it's engaging dialogue, but it takes place in the future and the human race is kind of dying out. And there's a small radical group of people that are concerned that androids, which are pretty common now, are eventually just going to take over and that the humans will die
Oh,
out and the world will be nothing but androids. So it's kind of that tension and drama between the two factions of the people were trying to save humanity and then the people trying to destroy the androids because they don't want them taking over humanity. Like I said, there's almost no action at all in it, but very engaging, entertaining movie.
cool, cool. Sounds interesting. Is
And
it an AIP? Like a
I don't recall. Probably should have
Okay.
looked that up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I've heard of it, but never have seen it. So yeah.
I'm not sure if it's ever gotten any kind of release. Like I said, I saw it on Svengoolie, and then last month I saw the Movies channel, not the movie channel, but the Movies with an exclamation point channel was playing it as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, sometimes that's fun, is the stuff that you don't have ready access to. I mean, it's great that we have access to all these movies, but sometimes the hunt is still fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because Svengoolie, he shows quite a bit of obscure sci-fi movies that I didn't realize. I DVR his show every weekend.
Yeah, I follow him I don't see the show as regularly as I should, but I do follow him like on the social media stuff and everything. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, another one I watched recently on Svengoolie was Timewalker, which is a mummy movie, but it has a twist, which I don't want to give away. You ever seen that one?
When's that? Is that from the
That's
80s?
70s, I believe. It's either late
70s.
70s or very early 80s, maybe
I have
81-ish.
that one on one of those multi, like 4-in-1 movie DVDs somewhere.
I'll check.
And yeah.
Yeah, because really, as I often say, the early 80s are still the 70s. Yeah, I mean, in
Exactly.
style
Yeah.
and everything. You know, the 80s didn't really become the 80s till probably around 83, I'd say.
Yes. Right here.
Oh, that's one of those Corman packs.
Yeah, with Lady Frankenstein, the Velvet Vampire, Grotesque, and Timewalker.
Wow, that's a great set.
And I haven't seen it yet, but it's on here, so now I can watch it.
Yeah, yeah, go in expecting it feels like a made-for-TV movie. It really does. And it actually sets up, it kind of ends on a cliffhanger and sets up a sequel that never happened. But it's still, I thought it was fun.
Oh, cool. Well, that's great. I can just reach back. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like instant gratification.
yeah, there you go.
Now, this is a great episode so far. I feel like, like you said, there's no crossover, and I'm just learning so many new movies I got to check out.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's fun. Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny too, like we're almost at an hour, at least according to the timer thing. I was playing this one for a 30-minute episode. I thought we were just gonna zip through and just have a little nice little special, but yeah, we're getting right at the time. So you got another?
I
Probably
got,
have time
yeah.
for one more.
Okay. Yeah, mine actually, this works out good because I'm going back and getting out of the 80s, which is maybe not a bad thing or a good thing, but I have The Crawling Eye
Ah, that's a
from
great.
1958, which
Yes.
I was one of those things. I saw this as a kid on television, probably Saturday afternoon, scared the crap out of me.
Hmm.
And I think it's still a really good movie. I know John Carpenter is a big fan of it. In fact, he does a commentary on this DVD, which I haven't listened
Wow.
to.
Well,
But
the
yeah,
eyeballs are creepy. I mean, you
Yeah,
take an
they are.
eyeball out of a head, they're creepy.
yeah, and plus a giant eyeball
Yeah.
up
Mhm.
and they can only exist in cold, so they're up on top of a mountain. And yeah, it's a great little kind of gothic, almost a gothic sci-fi horror. And it's got, they're able to, reanimate the dead people and send them out
Mhm.
and stuff. So yeah, it's a great movie. I'm glad, that you enjoy this one too.
Yeah, it's one of those things, as I've mentioned, I've said that so many times, but I was an 80s kid. I grew up mostly in the 80s, and I mean, I was only two at the most in the 70s, but in the 80s, so I was kind of at the mercy of the video stores, what they had available. So I kind of just dug into what they had. But 50s movies, except for horrible horror, which again is one of the most defining things of my youth, I wasn't able to see a lot of these films. I just knew them from horrible horror. That was my whole exposure to the 50s world. And it wasn't really until much later years with DVD and all these 50s films started finally coming out on DVD. So I didn't see a lot of these until I was an adult. And there's always that stigma of, oh, 50s movies are cheesy, 50s cheese, which I don't agree. And we've talked about before. There are a ton of great, serious, well done 50s sci-fi movies. And just Crawling Eye, I always thought it was going to be kind of a campy film, but no, it's a good, serious, well done sci-fi film.
That's one of the things. I mean, they play it dead serious. There's no
Yeah.
humorous sidekick or comedy relief anywhere. I mean, it's a pretty grim little movie.
Yeah. Another one like that I always thought was going to be really campy was The Screaming Skull. But when I finally saw Screaming Skull, I was like, wow, this is a well-written, moody film.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, that you wouldn't think that a movie of that, genre. I mean, there's a lot of, relationship issues and stuff working
Mhm.
under that. And yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah, I've been on a kind of a William Castle kick. They that movies channel did a William Castle. They called it Iconathon and showed some of his movies I'd never seen. But I saw Macabre for the first time, and I thought that was a darn good film.
Yeah, William Castle. I mean, everyone just thinks of the stuff like the Tingler and the and the all the gimmicks, but yeah, there's one he did called the Nightwalker,
Hmm.
which is really good. And there's a later one from the '60s called Let's Kill Uncle, which is really good. But
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
I'll tell you, jumping back a little bit, we were talking about eyeballs and how creepy eyeballs are. I'll tell you a movie I love, not sci-fi, is Delirium. And the eyeball headed oh man, that is every time I would love an action figure of that or like some kind of something.
yeah. That's a really great. It's kind of this really. It's almost one of the ultimate '80s giallos. It's
Hmm.
the whole thing just looks like an MTV music video
It
with
does.
all
It's
the
very, yeah.
colors and the lighting and the big shoulder pads and everything and the women. Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah. That's one I need to purchase eventually that I don't actually own, but
Yeah, it's out on Blu-ray, I know, because I know I've got it. It's got, the cover is the big eyeball.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had spoken many, many pods back about Della Morte Della More, and I saw that did finally get I think it's a German Blu-ray release.
Yeah, I've got an older German one. Maybe they reissued it though.
Is it the one with the cover is I think the case is yellow? Like it,
Yes. Yeah. Maybe that is the same one, but probably right here. But yeah, but I don't know. There must be something with the rights on that somewhere for America because I can't believe that hasn't been put out yet.
yeah, that's one of my like wish list movies to own a good copy of.
Yeah, and I felt like I always have a special place in my heart for that because I actually got to see that in the movie theater.
Wow, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I got to see that, and I got to see opera in the movie theater. So it was kind of like, ooh, Italian horror in the theater. Cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's yeah, I saw Deep Red in the theater. So,
Oh, really?
at
Like
Tarantino,
recently?
yeah, about probably 2008, 9-ish, somewhere around there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I saw it at Tarantino's place, the New Beverly,
Oh man, so it was on 35 even.
and it even broke. I
Oh,
kid you not.
really?
Midway through, like everything turned red, like one color, and sure enough, it broke. We had to sit and wait while they fixed it to put it on
Oh,
again.
wow. Cool, cool. Yeah, I went and saw Suspiria a bunch during when they had that big restoration, but not on 35. But I'd love to see Deep Red in the theater.
Yeah, it was very cool, and that was the first time I'd seen it too. Well, on that, I think we're about out of time. You have anyone you want to mention, especially since we're actual video, seeing you mention them?
Yeah, I did pull out a couple things here. There's this company called Spun Out Sounds. They do everything through Bandcamp and they're on Twitter. It's called at Spun Out Sound, and they do cassettes.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
And it's part of that whole kind of, like synth stuff that's kind of become popular now, 80s synthesizer music. And everyone they do, they're different artists. Like this one happens to be Steve Nolan and Repeated Viewing. They're soundtracks to imaginary movies.
That sounds cool.
So it's really cool. They're up to, I believe, over 50 releases now. And they're on Bandcamp, so you don't have to buy the physical media, but I have to buy it because I'm a physical media guy. And they do vinyl records now too, but you can always just download it if you want. But they're really great atmospheric records, with all the 80s synthesizer, kind of like John Carpenter like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but really, really good stuff. Perfect for turning out the lights and laying on the couch on a dark night and listening to. So I want to throw them out there.
I still have a tape player. Not sure if it works, but I still have one.
Yeah, I've got one. Also, I've still got my cassette, actual cassette deck wired into my stereo system. So, yeah. But they're definitely worth checking out. So, you got anybody?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I always mention the same people. It seems like every episode.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's really it. This is I actually really dug doing it this way. Even if in the future we just stick with the traditional audio only pods, face to face, I think really makes a nice dynamic for recording.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I did, fully admit I was kind of nervous at first, but I'm happy with the way it came out. And I really liked this format that you thought of maybe something time in the future we could do like maybe horror adventure or something yeah.
So let us know in the comments, like those of you did you watch it? Did you just listen to it? Would you like more video casts? Do you prefer just kind of listening to your podcast while you're doing other things? Like I know my good buddy Jay Super Awesome said he always listens to this in the car on the way to work and back.
Yeah, that's what I do a lot with podcasts, either in the car or I walk a lot during lunch or after work, and I always like to listen to podcasts. But yeah, doing something video with something different,
And I guess too, like even people have the option either way. If you want to listen to it, listen to it. If you want to watch it, watch it. Just don't feel obligated to watch it if you just want to listen to it.
Yeah. So yeah,
all right, pal, take us out.
All right, everyone. Thanks a lot. And like I said, our first video one. So hope you all enjoyed it. And remember to keep watching your sci-fi and keep watching the skies.
Yum.
Yum. It's a meal in itself. Our all-meat super dog. Enjoy one now.
Show starts in 6 minutes.